When getting out your chainsaw, it could be because you need to do some yard cleanup. Or maybe there's a large limb, or worse yet, a tree down in your yard after a storm. But what sometimes happens is that you'll find your case dripping with oil from the saw. It's not terrible news, but it is annoying to deal with. So what are you going to do about it? Pretend that it's not leaking and deal with the mess, or maybe it's time to get it fixed. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Stihl chainsaw. And the problem is that I've been told that it's leaking a lot of bar oil, but it seems to be doing this over a long period of time, which might make the diagnostic take a little longer than usual. Now we know what the customer complaint is, but I'd still like to look over the machine for any other problems it might have. But I do have to admit, this chainsaw is in really good shape with only one small area that's been damaged, but it's not going to affect us. Now that we know this chainsaw appears to be well taken care of, I'm going to guess the leak is not from abuse. And more than likely, it's from normal wear and tear or a part that simply needs replacing. It's also probably a good idea to take off the cap for the oil tank and see what we're dealing with. So it turns out the oil tank is pretty much empty. Either it all leaked out or the owner emptied it, which is a pretty good idea. Now one possible reason why it leaked out is that it leaked past the seal on the cap, and that's after years of being opened and closed in places that are far from clean. And it only makes sense that one day those mating surfaces could get damaged over time. We are going to test the cap, but right now I want to check the other side. The reason why is that I find most of the oil leaks are on this side. Now I did clean this machine beforehand just to make it easier to inspect. So it's not necessary to clean it, but depending on how bad it is, you might have a tough time finding the source of the leak. This area was covered in wood chips and oil, so cleaning it was really helpful. And after making sure there was no oil remaining from the original leak, we'll then fill the tank close to full. Replace the oil cap and make sure it's tight, then we'll set up our test. So for this test, we'll just put down a clean piece of cardboard followed by the saw. We'll then wait for signs of our oil leak. However, this part could take minutes or even hours, so we'll have to be really patient. In the end, I walked away for a couple of hours, but when I came back, we already had what we wanted to see. And to my surprise, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it is there though. And if we follow the oil trail, it leads us back to this part. So what is this part then? Well, this is the vent for the oil tank. It allows air to enter the tank, but at the same time, it's supposed to keep oil from coming out of it. So what about the cap for the oil tank? Is it leaking from there as well? But as you can see, there's only one place where the oil is leaking from, at least according to the cardboard we had it on. So how do we change out this part then? Well, first we're going to start off by pouring out the oil from the tank. You don't need to get all of it out, but the more you get out, the better it'll be. So I've been told to remove this part, all we have to do is push the vent into the tank using a punch and light tapping. But there is one problem, it wouldn't budge for me at all. Now maybe I wasn't hitting it hard enough, but it shouldn't take a hammer blow for it to at least come loose. So I had to think about it for a minute and realize that this method is the same for when you install it, and it would make sense that I should be able to push it out from the backside. Looking inside the tank, you should be able to see the backside of the vent and then tap on it. And as you can see, it popped right out of the body with the same effort I was using before. For those that don't know, this part has a one-way duckbill valve inside it. It allows air to enter one way but keeps whatever is on the backside from leaving. Now these don't fail very often, so you may never have to replace it, but if you use dirty oil, this part might fail. So why wasn't I able to push this part into the oil tank like I was told? Well, if you look in the opening where this part sits, you'll see a lip. It's there to help set the position of the valve, making sure it's not too far in. And I guess if you hit it hard enough, that lip would break and the vent would fall into the tank. However, I prefer to do it the way I showed you because it seems to make more sense to me. Now with the old one out of the machine, I would like to test it and see just how bad it was. So of course, the air should be able to flow from the small opening to the larger one. That means if we try to blow air into the larger opening, we should not be able to. However, if any air is able to get past it, it means the bar oil will leak out of it as well. So to test it, I'll push the vent into the scrap fuel line and then try to blow into the line. Now remember, we should not be able to push air from this direction. And as you just heard, air was leaking past the valve and out the side. It shouldn't be able to. Now that we confirm that it is the problem, we'll buy another vent. Now luckily these are not very expensive, but try and look for a good deal. I would also like to test this one for a leak as well, just for science. I do want you to pay attention to what yours looks like and compare it to the one you're about to buy. There are a couple of variations of these and you might end up with the wrong one. And after installing the vent back into the fuel line, I was not able to get any air to leak past it, which is great news. You probably don't need to lubricate these before installing them, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I don't think you can install these crooked, but make sure it's as square as possible with the opening before you start tapping on it. Now don't worry, as long as you're lightly tapping on it, it should stop on its own, which is slightly below flush. So after several light taps, the vent won't go any further into the opening, meaning it's fully seated. But what would happen if you only got it flush with the opening and not below it? If I had to guess, I doubt it's going to leak, but that is my opinion. So if you're not comfortable tapping it until it stops, I think you'll be okay. However, I still plan on testing whether it's going to leak or not. So am I wasting my time testing it again? I don't think so, but I'll leave it up to you if you want to test it again. But after waiting for another couple of hours, I'm happy to report that I don't see any oil from that area. So if for some reason you've replaced the valve and it's still leaking but just not as bad, you might have to take it back out again and test it like I did. So how do these vents fail? Well, if I had to guess, dirt or some kind of debris in the oil might be stuck in the build portion of the valve. This would then cause failure in the sealing area of the valve and allow the oil to leak past it. But if it's caught early enough, the valve might be saved by using compressed air to blow out the debris. However, if the debris is allowed to sit in the sealing portion for too long, it'll end up damaging it and there's almost no way to repair it, meaning you'll need to replace it. Next, we'll finally start the saw and see if there are any other problems with it. So it started and ran, but it's running a bit too fast, causing the clutch to work and making the chain move. And for some reason, I wasn't able to get the screwdriver to turn the idle set screw. So we'll blow out this dirt and try that again, but without the cover this time. Not sure why I was having a tough time making contact with the idle set screw, but without the cover, it helps out a lot. Now, I didn't show it, but I will let you know, I did try and use compressed air on the vent, but unfortunately, it didn't help out. And for those that did notice, I put the fuel tank vent back into place. It turns out, when I was using compressed air, I blew it off the port, but it's back on now. I also have to let you know that some oil will drip down from the opening for the oiler. So I would recommend setting the saw down somewhere for a bit before you put it back in the case. Otherwise, that oil is going to collect in the case again. And as for this one, it's a very nice machine and I wouldn't be afraid to make an offer on it if the owner ever decides to sell it. So my question is, do you leave bar oil in the saw or do you empty it before you put it away? I hate to admit it, but I leave mine full, but after this one, I might have to start emptying it out. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.